So after the slow motion that was the final stages of qualifying yesterday, time to bring things up to speed a little bit. It's the Italian Grand Prix, no pressure on the drivers, but if they could go a bit faster, well, that's what we're all here for, isn't it? The 70th World Championship Italian Grand Prix, the 69th to take place here in the Royal Park at Monza. We're in Italy, the 8th largest economy in the world. And some staggering, stunning, beautiful sights all over the city of Milan and the lakes just to the north of Monza here. 3 active volcanoes, Etna, Stromboli and Vesuvius, are all located in Italy, but they're a long way from the track, don't worry. 3.6 miles long, this circuit, 2 DRS zones, 11 corners, 4 to the left and 7 to the right, and you take your lap distance at full throttle for 84% of the lap. It's the fastest race of the season. Will we see the lap record held by Rubens Barrichello broken? I wonder. Into turn 1 we go with Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen last year. Bottas coming off second best, as did Sebastian Vettel. On the inside in the early stages against Lewis Hamilton, sent spinning round as the Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen strode off into the lead. And the Curva Parabolica for Derek Warwick on the opening lap in 1990 saw this spectacular crash. Derek Warwick, one of the FIA stewarding team here this weekend. 3 types of tyre compound. We have the C2, the C3 and the C4. It's the same tyres as we had in Australia, China, Bahrain, France, Austria, Germany and Hungary as well. And the medium tyre about 0.6 of a second slower. Here's the starting grid then. 21st pole for Ferrari at Monza and a second pole in a week for Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton on the front row here for the 9th time. Valtteri Bottas starts 3rd, where Lewis Hamilton won from last year. Sebastian Vettel has never won from outside the top 3. He starts 4th. It's an all-Renault 3rd row. Ricciardo just ahead of his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. Carlos Sainz starts 7th here for the 2nd year in a row alongside Alex Albon, his highest grid spot in F1 so far. Lance Stroll is 9th for Racing Point. Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian driver, is 10th, and it's Kevin Magnussen ahead of Danny Kvyat in 11th and 12th. Romain Grosjean starts directly behind his teammate. They've already clashed 3 times this season. George Russell is 14th for the 2nd week in a row. Robert Kubica promoted up to 15th because lots of engine penalties, including Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Sergio Perez, and behind these 2, Max Verstappen, who starts 19th with Kimi Raikkonen starting in the pit lane after a new engine was put into his Alfa Romeo following his crash in qualifying yesterday. There is Sebastian Vettel. Boy, oh boy, would he like to be starting on pole. That's his teammate this week. In between 2 Mercedes, Martin Brundle. What's going to happen?
The scene is set beautifully for this race. Yes, Ferrari, Mercedes, Mercedes, Ferrari, 2 works, Renault's looking on. Top 10 forced to start on the tyres they used in the second part of qualifying yesterday. That's the soft tyres. The rest have a choice. From 12th onwards, they've all chosen the medium tyre, except Romain Grosjean in the Haas for the Haas team. So very much a grid of 2 halves in that respect of tyre choice for the start of the Grand Prix. We are expecting it to be a 1-stopper. A stop costs you about 23 seconds. It's a very wide window as to when you might want to take that stop, because very low tyre degradation. The tyres give up very little performance each and every lap. Just 11 corners, 5 braking events, only 2 of them really heavily on the brakes around here. So it is about high speed.
The prancing horse starts on pole. If we could do a horse racing analogy here, it could be like a mad 5-furlong dash. Charles Leclerc blasts off, but then he might run out of puff, or in Formula 1 terms, his tyres might run out of puff a little bit. Could the others start to overhaul him? That, I think, is the worry for Ferrari today.
It is, but he's also dragging the pack down there. It's 450 metres from pole position to the turning point of the first corner, and that means anybody in his slipstream is getting a very helpful. And we saw how hard the drivers were trying to pick up a slipstream yesterday in qualifying, when it all went wrong in a very silly manner, a chaotic way. It was comedy, but it wasn't funny at all, the second part of qualifying yesterday, if you joined us for that. But anyway, this is where they hand the points out and the prize is out. It's race day. That's what matters.
Right, let's get going then. It's time for the formation lap, and Charles Leclerc will lead them off, and there's plenty of smoke around here. The air display was fantastic. It's a magnificent sight as the cars make their way down to the first chicane. Karun Chandok come in.
Yeah, Crofty, I was talking to some of the Ferrari engineers on the grid. Now, obviously, for them, they need to get out of the second chicane with Leclerc in the lead and make use of the first stint. They think on the medium tyre in the second half of the race, Mercedes have a clear advantage. They're also worried that Mercedes carrying a bit more downforce will be better on tyre wear. So just because Leclerc leads the first stint, it doesn't mean that Mercedes won't come back in the second half of this race.
Thanks ever so much, Karun. There's the stampede from the grid to the pit wall. It's got to be fit to be a mechanic and an engineer these days in Formula One. And there is Charles Leclerc, the third youngest winner in Formula One history. And he sits 5th place in the championship, just 12 points now behind his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Verstappen didn't score in Spa. He's third. Valtteri Bottas is now 65 points behind Lewis Hamilton.
Fernando Alonso there, a very experienced spectator, it must be said, especially around this place. But a point there about the fitness of the crew, especially the pit stop crew, the 20+ people on that, they have a lot of training and hydration, nutrition, and that's why we're, with a lot of equipment as well, why we're starting to see sub 2-second pit stops. Yeah, what they hate, of course, is if the start's aborted, they have to drag all that lot back out again.
Yeah, which they don't want to see. 2.02 seconds was the fastest pit stop last week, and it went to George Russell and the crew down at Williams, who start 14th on the grid today, equaling their highest grid spot of the season. Sebastian Vettel frantically weaving around, trying to get some heat into his tyres. The soft compound tyre should last, according to Pirelli, for around about 30 laps. So the pit stop window could be quite large here. Will they be bringing Vettel in early, try and drag Mercedes into a territory they don't want to be? Mercedes, who in the last 5 years have taken victories here. We haven't seen a Ferrari victory at Monza since Fernando Alonso in 2010, and the vast majority of the crowd here would like that run to end today.
Young Charlie Leclerc there, keeping a close eye on his mirrors. He arrived last weekend into his grid slot quite early, and he was trying to keep the pack tight, but once again he's been slightly hung out to dry out front there, so he will wait even longer than the rest of the front of the grid, approaching half a minute, while the other 19 line up.
33 degrees the track temperature, quite similar conditions to Spa last week. The air temperature 20 degrees, and there's an official 10% chance of rain. If it comes, it should come towards the latter stages of the race. There's Max Verstappen. He started 20th here before in his rookie season at Toro Rosso. He's last on the grid today, with Kimi Räikkönen starting in the pit lane. All eyes on him as he tries to make his way through the field. All eyes looking to the first chicane, 450 metres to that first braking point. It's a long dash to try and sort it all out. With time for the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Leclerc gets away well. Hamilton and Bottas now jockeying for position, and Hamilton coming alongside Charles Leclerc, with Bottas now with some free space. Sebastian Vettel behind him. Ricciardo on the outside of Hülkenberg. Leclerc goes into the first chicane ahead, and just ahead as well by a matter of inches, and the Mercedes gets a bit
Verstappen
pinched.
at the back, I think. Verstappen in trouble at the back.
Out-braking himself and having to go through the chicane along with Sergio Perez as well.
Broken front wing, I believe, if on the Red Bull that was at the back of the pack.
Hamilton got a little bit pinched, but he's ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Is into the second chicane we go, and Nico Hülkenberg goes past Sebastian Vettel, the Renault, getting ahead of the Ferrari. That is bad news indeed for the home team.
Yeah, we're pretty sure it is Verstappen at the back with a broken front wing. Great move there. Both Ferraris, I was looking out of the window, looking directly down on them, were quite slow away, but somehow Leclerc just about kept advantage, kept his head down into turn one.
Into the Ascari chicane we go, and Charles Leclerc's got a decent lead, looking Carlos Sainz to have a go at Lance Stroll. Can't quite get past the racing point. The two Mercedes are in hot pursuit, as well as Daniel Ricciardo sets after Sebastian Vettel, his former teammate, and the long back straight now towards the Parabolica. Leclerc with a handy lead. Vettel is poised and ready to strike at Nico Hülkenberg.
Ferrari desperately needed Vettel in amongst the Mercedes, not behind the Renault there. Lando Norris has had a difficult first lap as well, down in 16th at the last count.
And Alex Albon's had a decent first lap. He's got ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi as Sebastian Vettel does get past Nico Hülkenberg, and he can start to chase the two Mercedes. Sainz once again has a look at Lance Stroll, who gains places quite often during the course of a first lap, and he's done so again today, moving up 2 places. And there is the front wing change for Max Verstappen. Soft tyres going on Will they make it to the end of the race? Is this a big gamble now taken by Red Bull? They're optimistic if they think those tyres can do the whole race, but they need pace.
Yeah, they couldn't put mediums back on again, otherwise he's nailed on to another pit stop. You have to use at least 2 of the 3 dry compounds in a dry race. So Verstappen then has now got to nurse those softs a very long way into this race, soft compound tyres.
Confirmation, Max Verstappen hit Sergio Perez. We saw Perez going through the runoff area in the chicane, and Verstappen was the cause of that, and he had to take evasive action as well. Alex Albon on the tail of Carlos Sainz. He dropped back a couple of places, then got ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. Roman Grosjean's lost out on the first lap, down in 16th at the moment. His teammate Kevin Magnussen up in 11th for Haas as the long train of cars make their way down the back straight and towards the Parabolica. Albon is gaining on Carlos Sainz, and we saw him pull off some decent moves in Spa last week. Red Bull will be looking to see if that McLaren can be bypassed down the straight now. Robert Kubica is up into 13th place. His teammate George Russell down into 15th. Looking back there, Albon gaining on Sainz, but is he gaining enough? Has a little look into the chicane. He's just a bit too far back, and the stewards are going to look at Kimi Räikkönen, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen and Roman Grosjean for the Turn 1 incidents and see if they need to take any action on it.
So the drag reduction system DRS rear wings are now enabled.
And we are on board, wow, with Alex Albon, and boy was he late on the brakes there. Carlos Sainz might have thought he was safe, he wasn't, but he's going to fight back now into the first of the 2 Lesmo corners. Alex Albon on the outside, and Carlos Sainz, and they touch, and Albon goes off onto the gravel, and he's going to lose places as a result of that. Was he squeezed out, and was there enough space? We might need to look at that again.
Yeah, no point trying to go around the outside of the first Lesmo. It always nips a bit on the exit, and that's not the place to position your car.
That was superb on the brakes, and well done Carlos Sainz for getting out of the way as well, but he went too deep into the chicane, allowed Sainz to come back at him. The trees there, Martin, just masking what we wanted to see as the helicopter cam picks up Alex Albon.
I think Sainz had the racing line and took the racing line through the corner. That overhead shot wasn't a whole lot of good to us there, was it? But
no.
Alex would have been much wiser to get out of that and regroup ready for the exit of the second Lesmo.
And the stewards might just have a little look at that incident as well. There's Kevin Magnussen right behind Antonio Giovinazzi, and Alex Albon now behind the Haas. And Albon just ahead of Danny Kvyat and Pierre Gasly, the man he swapped around with, and the move from Toro Rosso to the senior team.
And there's a lot of clever little systems in there, but you can pick up grass and gravel in your cooling ducts as well.
Albon's going for it again. He's just a bit too far back this time on Kevin Magnussen, and thinks caution is the order of the day there. Out in front, Charles Leclerc might be just out of DRS range, 1.3 seconds the lead between himself and Lewis Hamilton, but he's not blasting away in the way that we thought, and Hamilton got the better of the starts.
Yeah, he very much did, but somehow Leclerc, he just kept squeezing Hamilton just enough, and Lewis probably had to just blend out of it slightly, and at that point it was Bottas coming around the outside. He got too deep into the corner, and Hamilton, there we see the chaos going on in the background. Well, this is going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yes, so Sergio Perez to the right, Pierre Gasly just ahead.
The start Max needed last weekend in Spa got away nicely off the line. So he's backed off, he's not being silly. In fact, he's very cautious because he knows what's coming next.
That's coming next. It's a replay of the Ferrari and the Renault. Nico Hülkenberg having a move on Sebastian Vettel. We'll go back, I hope, to that Max Verstappen because we want to see how it all played out in the end. Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo has just got past his teammate Nico Hülkenberg, and Ricciardo moves up into 5th place. 2 Renaults running 5th and 6th at the moment.
They could get a haul of points today, which will make life difficult for McLaren in the championship. McLaren, of course, robbed of that 5th place for Lando Norris just last weekend in Spa. They could have very much done with. Verstappen is 40 seconds off the lead, so let's remember that time. And 19 seconds off taking Kimi Räikkönen for last but 1 place.
Yeah, and when the rest make their pit stop, they'll lose about 21 seconds. Bring Verstappen a bit more back into play, and that's how Daniel Ricciardo, using the slipstream on his teammate Nico Hülkenberg with DRS as well, easily managed to get past. In the Constructors' Championship, Renault 43 points, McLaren 82. Good haul of points here, as Martin said, could easily move them into contention for that vital 4th spot in the standings.
What the Renault boys should be doing is DRSing each other lap after lap after lap and getting them clear of Lance Stroll, who's hanging on very nicely there, Carlos Sainz too.
I mentioned Stroll. He gained 6 places on the opening lap in Spa. He's gained 55 places in total on the opening lap this season. He gained another 2 on this particular afternoon as well. Back on board now with the Red Bull. Down the main straight we go. Alex Albon, he thought he might be able to breeze past the Haas. That certainly isn't happening, and he locked up a little bit going into the chicane as well. As Romain Grosjean gets past Robert Kubica and up into 15th place, the Williams starting to drop back a bit. No investigation necessary, say the stewards, in the incident involving Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. They've decided that's a racing incident. And here we are at the start once again. Pierre Gasly just ahead of Max Verstappen, as you said, Martin, was hanging back, being cautious.
Yeah, Max was being extremely cautious. And then just suddenly, I think he got a whack. He got a whack up the back, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I think they slowed down, and his closing speed was a bit more, I think, than he actually felt was going to be happening. Yeah. Oh, there's Sebastian Vettel, and he's spun. And he's coming onto the track just as Lance Stroll goes past him as well. And there's anxious faces now on the look of the Tifosi. He must have hit Stroll, and Stroll now comes back onto the track, and Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso has to go wide, all down at the Ascari chicane.
Both of those against the regulations, rejoining the track in an unsafe manner.
And look at now, Sebastian Vettel, big damage on his front wing, limping into the pits.
I think I have damage, the front left.
You do have damage, I'm afraid, Sebastian Vettel. Past him goes Perez and Stroll.
He was just right getting on the tail of Valtteri Bottas, so whether there was contact between the two or whether Vettel just ran out of space, then ran out of talent, I don't know.
Second year in a row, Sebastian Vettel's Italian Grand Prix has sent him into a spin. Last year, it was after tangling with Lewis Hamilton on the opening lap. This time at the Ascari chicane, he goes into a spin. Was there contact? We'll find out. Hard compound tyres going on, Ted Kravitz.
Well, it's just trying to get something from Sebastian Vettel's race as Charles Leclerc, a young upstart teammate, serenely at the front, the team leader, having an absolute mare down here. And actually at Racing Point, it's Lance Stroll's race ruined as well. He was properly sent around. You'll see the replay in a minute, Crofty. Lots of damage on the Racing Point, and he's going to pit now as well.
Right, so that's Sebastian Vettel spinning all on his own. Comes back under the track. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Now, he might not have seen Stroll, but I don't know if he was looking to see who was coming through.
I just dropped it.
Just came back on the circuit like an idiot.
And I'm sorry, I can't disagree with Lance Stroll's comments there. That is not what you expect from a man as experienced as Sebastian Vettel.
We saw him last year light the rear tyres up in frustration, but then Lance did the same then to a Toro Rosso. Here
Absolutely.
we go.
And if Lance Stroll's going to dish out that, he might have to take a bit back from Pierre Gasly as well. So there's, that's poor.
Stroll did his absolute best to get around the outside of that. So I'm pretty sure Vettel will take a penalty for that. And, well, what goes around comes around.
Yeah, I think by the same token, I think Lance Stroll might be due one as well. Now, with these cockpits, Martin, with the increased protection around the side, it's very difficult for the drivers to see over them. But the stewards are looking at Sebastian Vettel for returning to the track in an unsafe manner. Romain Grosjean has now pitted. The medium tyres go on for him, and he's back out with only with Sebastian Vettel just ahead of him. Grosjean's had a spin as well, and he continued on his way on the exit of the Ascari chicane.
Verstappen 39.5 seconds off the lead. He's taken a half a second off out of the leader, but he's now getting towards the back of the pack. His progress will slow.
Lewis Hamilton catching Charles Leclerc 2/10 on the last lap. So you see Lance Stroll going through, and that is how Romain Grosjean did it. Is it that tricky on the exit of the Ascari chicane there, where we saw Vettel a little bit earlier in this corner?
Be a lot of gravel around there about now. put too much. You've got a lot of throttle on. You do ask a lot of the car laterally.
Yeah.
And you'll not spin there too often without smashing it into the barrier.
And we can see now Alex Albon at the Della Roggia chicane, going for a move on Kevin Magnussen. Now he comes out ahead, but he's definitely missed the apex there. And he is still ahead of Kevin Magnussen with Danny Kvyat. The car now in between the pair of them.
Terry Lewis was pushing it hard, wasn't he, on the exit of the second Lesmo there?
Looks like he's struggling a little bit.
He might be struggling a bit, but he's just pulled out a couple of tenths in the first sector, which means Hamilton's now not in DRS range. We should... sorry, Martin.
Yeah, Leclerc's just 21 years old. We know how strong his head is. He's staying on the right-hand side down there, because it's their right, of course, because it's less bumpy. It can get very bumpy down the middle of that straight. That's why I think Leclerc, and also trying to break the toe, break the slipstream as well, that he's helpfully giving both Mercedes. Anthony, what can you tell us?
Hamilton is saying that he's feeling good in the car, but he's managing the rear tyres, and that's why he's not really catching the leader at the moment. He's biding his time, he's looking after the rear tyres, but they have lost, interestingly, they've lost GPS tracking on his car.
Oh. Well, we've got it up here in the commentary box.
Yeah, we know where he is.
Yeah, fine. He's second at the moment. He's just gone through the Curva Grande behind Charles Leclerc and ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas.
So what are the ramifications of losing GPS, Anthony? What other tools have they lost then at that point, would you say?
Well, it could come into, strategy when you're looking for when to pit the cars, and it's that when it comes down to that critical time. So I'm guessing that's what they're kind of suggesting by that comment.
Robert Kubica is overtaken by his teammates George Russell. The Williams scrapping for 16th place, and the stewards have noted that Alex Albon missed the apex of the Della Roggia chicane when he got past Kevin Magnussen. Has now got Sergio Perez on his tail. Yeah,
if they think that Albon effectively completed the overtake whilst off the track, they might ask him to give that back, give that place back, which will be quite a problem for him, because Perez is right in there as well, isn't he?
He's also got Danny Kvyat in between Albon and Perez, Magnussen now as well.
Let's go down to Teddy Kravitz.
So a couple of things from down here, Martin. First of all, Lance Stroll's front wing is damaged, as you might expect. They don't want to ruin their strategy as well as ruining everything else on their day. So they're probably going to change his nose at his one and only pit stop. And, well, hasn't Sebastian Vettel just opened the door for Mercedes now to gang up on Charles Leclerc strategically without the benefit of a rear gunner? And I can imagine James Vowles, the strategist on the Mercedes pit wall, is thinking, I'm going to get him now. I'll be able to do one thing with another, maybe an early stop for Bottas, one thing with Hamilton, and they'll get them. So this hands such a strategic advantage to Mercedes. But notwithstanding that GPS loss, Crofty, what do you think it says? After the Ascari corner, turn left. That might help.
Yeah.
Reboot it. Maybe.
Yes, reboot it, and it'll be absolutely fine.
Or if you're Sebastian Vettel, make a U-turn at the first opportunity.
Perez is having a go at Kevin Magnussen on the run down to the Della Roggia chicane. This could end it messily as the two drivers almost wheel to wheel going through. Magnussen trying to defend well, pushes Perez towards the edge of the track there in defence, but he's definitely struggling out of these slow chicanes, Magnussen, to get some traction, and frustrating the Mexican in the racing point at the moment. His teammate Lance Stroll right behind him, just joining the race. Stroll was going along quite nicely, then Sebastian Vettel spun at the Ascari chicane, came back onto the track and caused a spin for Stroll as well. Had to take evasive action, then Stroll came back onto the track and forced Pierre Gasly onto the gravel, and the stewards having a look at it at the moment.
And Stroll's got reasonable pace, so I can't see they'll necessarily, unless they think it's dangerous. You don't want your front wing tucking underneath your front tyres here under braking, but if they don't think it's dangerous, structurally sound enough, I don't see that they'll want to lose a dozen seconds at the pit stop. I'll have a good look at it. Absolutely.
They might want to, if he continues to get that much closer to his teammates, swap Stroll and Perez around as well, because they're on different tyres and different strategies. 1.1 seconds was the difference at the end of the last lap between Leclerc and Hamilton. It's near enough 1.3 seconds at the moment. He's doing well, Charles Leclerc, to keep out of DRS threat from the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's tantalisingly close now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what a duel this looks like.
Again,
as you say, it's 2v1.
Right, Sebastian Vettel has just been given a 10-second stop-go penalty for returning to the track in an unsafe manner. There are 4 penalties the stewards can give, that the common penalties, 5-second, a 10-second, a drive-through and a stop-go penalty, of which the stop-go, Martin, is the most severe. And Sebastian Vettel's Italian Grand Prix has gone from average to bad to horrible.
That's a half-a-minute penalty they've just given him there. And that'll put him last, plumb last. He's penultimate, in the penultimate place, as you can see for yourselves on the left-hand side. That's a no-brainer. That's all they could do there, isn't it? That's
I totally agree.
You know, slam dunk. It was me, officer.
And Charles, at the moment we are thinking plan B.
To stay out a little bit longer, maybe because your tyres are okay. Do hope Sebastian Vettel doesn't protest over the radio when they tell him he's got that penalty. So I'm not quite sure what his defence would be on that one. Apologies if you're a Sebastian Vettel fan, but you can't have drivers doing that. You can understand it in the heat of the moment, Martin. You know, he's desperate to get back on the track. He's just made a mistake, another mistake, all by himself, but you can't be doing that.
Some frustration there. Remember, he lit the rear tyres up when he spun last year. He's just about got beat. He's lucky to get off that. They're also investigating Raikkonen for starting on incorrect tyres. But we'll have to look at the angle of that, because with a hands device on and the headrests, you cannot turn your head.
Yeah.
You cannot turn and have a look. So if you can't see somebody in your mirrors, you don't necessarily know where anybody is. But the position he was at the front of the field, close to the start of the race, somebody was going to be there.
Well, this is it. You're relying on your team to say, yeah, hold on, Sebastian, hold on. And relying on your years of experience, as you say, Martin, to know that at that stage of the race, the field are going to be fairly close together and there's not going to be a massive gap to get back onto the track again.
Yeah, and the more I think about that, the more I realise Vettel had no ability to have a look, because his mirrors would have been looking at the barriers in the middle of the runoff area, and you cannot turn your head. No. It's impossible.
But that he's done his 10-second stop-go penalty. But if you can't see, you don't just go blindly onto the track.
You wait for a marshal to wave you on or something, but then his race would effectively be over anyway, so maybe it was worth the risk, and hope that whoever was coming along went behind him and not in front of him.
Yeah. On board with Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, in all the time we've been talking about others on the track, has made his way up to 16th at the moment.
Oh, I get this problem again, that I lost power out of turn 2.
Okay, power is coming back. Just watch, well, you know what to watch.
And is this a mapping issue that they've got? With losing power out of turn 2?
Yeah, don't know. They don't seem to know, do they, Crofty? Because they've been trying to chase it for a couple of days. You know what I think Raikkonen had done on Raikkonen? Because he started from the pit lane. They started him on what they thought were optimum tyres. He was inside the top 10 yesterday, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was required to start the race on his Q2 tyres. So I suspect that's what's going on there. Maybe Alfa Romeo thought that as they started from the pit lane, all bets are off. They can run what they like.
Drive-through penalty for Lance Stroll for rejoining the track in an unsafe manner, and I don't think there can be too many complaints on that one either.
So that's about 20 seconds then it's cost him. He hasn't got to stop for 10 seconds. They obviously thought that what Vettel did was worse than what Stroll did, because he caused Stroll's incident in the first place.
Alex Albon on Antonio Giovinazzi. Alex Albon is up into 7th place now after losing a couple of places in the early part of this race, and this is Max Verstappen making a move on Kimi Raikkonen down the straight. Now, these two have made plenty of moves in the past when Kimi was a Ferrari driver, and it's Max Verstappen that comes out on top. Moves himself up then. It's a 15th place. That looks fairly easy with the DRS assistance that he was getting. So Kimi Raikkonen under investigation for starting the race on incorrect tyres. Lance Stroll will get a drive-through penalty. Sebastian Vettel has served his penalty, and Charles Leclerc still continues to lead, but now by 1.5 seconds out in front.
Good chance today for some of the midfielders to grab some championship points. For example, Giovinazzi's right up there, Kvyat Magnussen. We could see a few surprise results today.
Giovinazzi, of course, who was on for a decent points finish in Spa until he dropped it at Pouon on the last lap. and rather ruined all of his good work before.
So another 5 or 6 laps, and the window will start opening up for the top 3 to make a pit stop without being back in the pack.
Yes, the Renault pair of Ricciardo and Hülkenberg doing a very good job to try and have that gap a little bit sooner as well, should the top 3 want it. You can bet your bottom dollar, Ted Kravitz, that Mercedes will be thinking, right, which one of our drivers can we bring in early to try and unsettle Ferrari a bit?
Well, let's play the strategy game. What would you do as Lance Stroll comes through to serve his drive-through penalty? I think I'd probably undercut with Hamilton and then overcut with Bottas. Or the other one, or the other way around. Both might actually touch. Bottas is doing great lap times, isn't he? Just to be 1.7 seconds behind Hamilton. So Bottas has got speed there. Oh,
we're just seeing a replay of why Lance Stroll got his drive-through penalty. Oh, and they're coming out into the pit lane at Mercedes for a set of hard compound tyre.
To go to the end, okay, so it's not great for an undercut. Just quickly on Max Verstappen, he could go to the end, but that tyre's only meant to do 30 laps. After that starts to overheat and go off, and he would have to do 50 laps on that to get to the end, more or less.
Yes, he's now starting to, they're going back in at Mercedes. We've never seen this before, have we?
More. I thought we were done with the engineer-led games after yesterday.
No, they're back for a bit more.
You're not allowed to come out into the pit lane and risk your people unless you have a genuine intention of pitting at that time.
He's quicker than us.
He's quicker than us, did he say?
Quicker than us, yeah.
If Ferrari can manage and Leclerc can manage to win this one, it'll be quite some victory, wouldn't it? Because Mercedes can play any number of hands there behind him.
I think Lewis Hamilton was a little bit faster than Charles Leclerc on that last lap, but down the main straight, Leclerc seems to have a much bigger speed advantage, and Mercedes need DRS, and they're not getting within range to do that at the moment. On board with Sergio Perez, running just outside the points at the moment in 11th. He's had a fairly eventful race. He's got Kevin Magnussen now in his sights. They're going to keep running Charles Leclerc, I think, a little bit longer than they first thought down at Ferrari. Plan B.
They're not punish the transmissions coming out of these chicanes when they run wide on the curb. Somewhere like this also, second Lesmo putting maximum torque demand through the, it's obviously just rear-wheel drive, these cars. You can hear the whole oscillation in the transmission going on some, especially out of the second chicane. This is where they've been struggling for grip. Yeah, it's not flat, is it? It's not flat out through there. Flat out through the exit, but not through the middle. They're running such skinny wings, such little downforce. There is a crosswind through the Ascari chicane today, but only a metre 0.4 per second.
Alex Albon has a penalty. If you remember his move on Kevin Magnussen, where he got ahead of Kevin Magnussen and then went off the track and stayed ahead of Kevin Magnussen, well, the steward said that gained a lasting advantage that you shouldn't really have had. So there's a 5-second penalty for Alex Albon, who hasn't pitted yet, and it means then, as there is the Red Bull of Max Verstappen making a move on Pierre Gasly, and Gasly didn't put up too much of a fight against his former teammate there, and Verstappen puts himself up into 13th. Means that Alex Albon will stay stationary for 5 seconds before they change his tyres at the next pit stop, and I'm not overly surprised by that penalty either.
No, I'm not at all surprised. In fact, it's quite lenient in a way.
Rears are dropping off, man. You cannot overcut him.
Overcut him if he comes in. Lewis doesn't want to keep running longer, but sometimes often we've heard drivers having to give the place back, haven't we? But Albon is now 2 spots ahead of Magnussen.
Yeah, and that was a trouble from pretty much straight away, because Kevin Magnussen kind of had to back off as Albon rejoined the track. And then Danny Kvyat said, oh, thanks ever so much, I'll have that. And rather made it a little bit complicated just to do a little swap. We have live data powered by AWS, and it's saying that the pit window is open for those soft compound tyre runners on a one-stop strategy, Ted Kravitz.
It means that you can go from soft to medium. So any earlier, you'd have to put the hard tyre on. That's why we saw the Mercedes guys out in the pit lane with that hard tyre, with the white stripe, which is as hard as concrete round here. It's pretty hard for this track. But from now on, from 19 to 29, pit window is open. Don't go making cups of tea, anybody. This is where it's about to get interesting.
Yeah, and looking at the way Leclerc's Ferrari was moving on the exit of second Lesmo, they had to really scoop it up from an armful of oversteer, the back sliding. It looks to me like the Ferrari is getting ready to have a new set of tyres.
If the question is, have we had enough penalties for this race? The answer is obviously not. Kimi Raikkonen now has a 10-second stop-go penalty for starting the race on incorrect tyres. And I'm rather inclined to agree with you here, Martin. He got through to Q3 yesterday and normally would start on the same set of tyres. He said his fastest time in Q2 on.
Hamilton pits.
Rear tyres. Rear tyres.
Yes.
Rear tyres are gone.
Right, so Ferrari, they say the rear tyres are going. They're trying the undercut here at Mercedes, and Mercedes have been very, very good at predicting Ferrari's tyre life in recent races.
So, I don't know when he called in to say rear tyres. We saw it down at second Lesmo, didn't we? And now I think this is going to give Lewis Hamilton a great chance of taking the lead of this Grand Prix.
It's a decent stop as well by the Mercedes crew. He comes out just ahead of Carlos Sainz. So to go back to Kimi Raikkonen, he should have started on the soft compound tyre, but because he started from the pit lane, they decided at Alpha to put him on the medium compound, and obviously thought they could do that because he was now starting from the pit lane. They made a load of changes. Might be the regulations say, no, you've still got the start on that set of soft compound tyres.
Whoa, you don't want to be doing that, Lewis. You've got to get those tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. Big lock up there as he's pushing on his outlap.
It shows how hard he's pushing, it really does. 25-second gap to the leader, Charles Leclerc. His last lap was a 1:25.2. I wonder how much slower he might go on this particular lap as Kimi Raikkonen serves his 10-second stop-go penalty, and away he goes. 10.5 seconds he was stationary for, and Kimi rejoins the race right at the rear. Now,
it's the moment in the race, Crofty.
It is. Leclerc comes in. Where's Lewis Hamilton? Heading down the back straight towards the Parabolica. Hard compound tyres go on, not the mediums, down at Ferrari. Hamilton's going through the Parabolica now. 80 kilometres an hour. Charles Leclerc and his Ferrari trundles down the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton crosses the line to complete his lap. He's at full pace as the Renault of Ricciardo, and then Hülkenberg goes through, and there is Lewis Hamilton, and they have just got out ahead down at Ferrari, but Hamilton on medium compound tyre against the hard compound tyre of Leclerc might just have an advantage on this lap. Hamilton's tyres are warmed up, Leclerc's are cold and getting warmer, but when do they get up to the optimum temperature? That is what Charles Leclerc is hoping will happen very soon.
So Lewis will be much more confident in the braking zones. He's up to speed on these fresh tyres. Fuel load always coming down, of course, as the laps unravel. But good work there from Ferrari. They've a completely different concept of how to run this race. They've gone on to the hard tyre.
Lewis Hamilton will be in DRS range when they next go through the activation zone. This is a clear indication that Ferrari don't think those mediums are going to last long enough to get to the end of the race, and they've got to go for something a bit more sturdy, and Mercedes think that they can go on the mediums, and it might just make sure they're okay. If Mercedes are wrong, Leclerc, if he gets overtaken, could come back at the end of the race.
And Lewis Hamilton is going to get DRS down the pit straight. So Leclerc needs his batteries fully charged and ready to defend with them.
Here we go then. Lewis Hamilton in hot pursuit of Charles Leclerc, and look how he's gaining out of the Parabolica, and now the DRS will open wide for Lewis Hamilton. Ahead of them is Nico Hülkenberg. The race leader was Charles Leclerc. He's been ahead of Lewis Hamilton all the way through, and he stays ahead going into the chicane.
Leclerc getting a handy slipstream there from the Renault, just what he needed. But it's for position, of course, in the race. Hülkenberg is ahead of Leclerc and Hamilton at the moment because he hasn't pit stopped, so he doesn't have to get out of the way at all.
Both Renaults running inside the top three. Bottas leads from Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg. Then comes Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, and that could be the battle for the eventual race winner that we're seeing here. That's not discounting out Bottas at all. The overcut might just work, you never know. Onwards towards the Ascari chicane we go, and Charles Leclerc has got DRS
so
because
Lewis
he's now
pushing hard. Leclerc now. This could play in our hands, so keep pushing hard.
Now he's got DRS because he's behind the Renault and they're challenging for position, and that's keeping him ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Bottas being urged to push hard by his race engineer, and Hamilton now getting a really good slipstream from behind two cars down that back straight. Leclerc to the parabolica, wants to overtake the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg. That is not the easiest thing to do on the inside of the parabolica. Hülkenberg allows it to go past. Now Lewis Hamilton's getting a slipstream from behind the Renault and behind the Ferrari as well. But Leclerc has got DRS again because he went through the detection zone behind the Renault. Hamilton now pulls out to have a go at Leclerc. Leclerc stays ahead by about a car length and a half. This is brilliant racing.
Very smart positioning of his car there from Charles Leclerc. He did, as you say, get some DRS.
He's going for it again, Lewis Hamilton. Got a great exit out of the chicane. Round the curve at Grande they go. Is it a Grande move from Lewis Hamilton towards the Della Roggia chicane? Leclerc's on the inside. Hamilton goes onto the gravel and has to take to the escape road. And you can hear the cheers from Monza all the way back to Stevenage. The Ferrari fans loved it.
Yeah, they'll be looking at that just to see if Leclerc squeezed him wide. Lewis will be on the phone complaining about that. I wouldn't be at all surprised. These two are flying, so it's not, the overcut's not working for Bottas.
He did leave me a car's width there, pushed me off.
Can't argue with that.
The Ferrari fans cheering Charles Leclerc through the Ascari chicane. Whatever anyone else might think of this move, the home tifosi absolutely loved it. Was there enough cars width there? No. But was he moving to take the racing line, and was he allowed to do so because he was still ahead?
That's a tough call from the stewards. He was preparing for the corner. It wasn't like he defended then moved a second time, but that's a tough one.
He has been shown the black and white flag. Get you to explain that in a couple of seconds. Yeah, go for it now, Martin.
Well, that means your driving is not acceptable, but that means you're not going to get a penalty.
Yeah.
That means don't do that again. So he's been led off reasonably lightly on that one, but that was a tough call, I must say.
It's a warning. It's like a yellow card. Do it again, and then we'll start taking action. And is that then Charles Leclerc nullifying the threat of Lewis Hamilton for a while?
Black and white flag. Black and white flag. No action at the moment. Why?
Lewis Hamilton going off onto the gravel. Not a car's width there. Leclerc was slightly ahead. There are the stewards. Gary Connolly on the right-hand side. Derek Warwick, of course, on the left-hand side. Two of the four members of the stewarding team. They have all the camera angles. They have all the data. They've got the rule books and a lot of experience and knowledge, and decided on this occasion a warning was sufficient, not a penalty.
And again, Leclerc positioned his car well. He had to go to the left off the exit of Curva Grande, forcing Lewis the long way round. But those hard tyres don't seem to slow at the moment, do they, on the Ferrari? But Lewis, you can't help but sense in this second phase of the race, and he's got DRS as well now, that the Mercedes in Hamilton's hands is a little bit faster.
Charles Leclerc has just set the fastest lap of the race on those hard compound tyres as well. Valtteri Bottas leads his gap.
He's super fast on this race.
He was about 6-7 miles an hour faster in the Ferrari on the straights yesterday.
And you want to be about, was it 20 kilometres an hour? I'll put that into miles an hour for you. Faster on the straight to make an overtake move 12 miles an hour.
And of course this again is for position with Ricciardo, who hasn't stopped and is running second. Bottas hasn't stopped either and leads the Grand Prix, but Bottas is only 18.5 seconds ahead of Leclerc. That's not enough. A pit stop takes somewhere around 22 or 23 seconds.
Ted, down to you.
Just to explain the difference in strategy, do you remember, Crofty, back to Friday? Seems ages ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Ferrari was actually not great. Much worse than the Mercedes on the long runs on that yellow medium tyre. So it's all they could do, really. They knew that their pace wasn't great on long runs compared to Mercedes. So they had to go with a hard tyre. What's going on now?
Now, this could be interesting because Daniel Ricciardo doing a stout job of defending second place here. And Charles Leclerc is right on the rear wing of that Renault. Now, he's going to get DRS, as is Lewis Hamilton as well. But I think it's allowed Hamilton to get that little bit closer to Charles Leclerc as they head now down towards the first chicane. Leclerc gets past Ricciardo. Hamilton is going to have to get a good exit out of the chicane to try and keep tabs with Charles Leclerc, or the Ferrari is going to get get a little bit further away from him through the Curva Grande. Hamilton switches to the inside, and he goes wheel to wheel now with Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo has been on these tyres right from the opening gambit, and he can't put up as much of a defence as Leclerc did at this very spot 3 laps ago.
Yeah, Ricciardo didn't have the pace. He had to go around the outside, more metres, and that's not his fight. There's no point in Daniel losing time to Lewis there. It's not his fight this afternoon. His race is with his teammate Hulkenberg.
Yeah, it was the same with Nico Hulkenberg as well, who fought but didn't fight too much when Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton came their way a few laps ago. So, 3 cars blasting down the main straight at Monza, and the red one getting past the yellow one, but the silver one having to tuck behind. That's pretty much what the Tifosi would like to see more often than not here in Monza. Valtteri Bottas leads the race though for Mercedes, but he hasn't stopped yet in this race. Daniel Ricciardo was running second, he's now running fourth. Charles Leclerc runs second and has set another fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton though is sticking with him and is still within DRS range, and the longer he keeps within DRS range, Martin, the more chance he's going to give himself to try and get past the Scarlet Red.
They're doing 215 miles an hour as they're ducking and diving into the braking zone at the end of the pit straight. 345 kilometers per hour.
So behind Ricciardo and Hulkenberg, 4th and 5th, Carlos Sainz runs 6th. Danny Kvyat runs 7th. Alex Albon, as you can see, is in the pits and had to serve a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. So he now drops behind Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, who's up into 9th. His teammate and Pierre Gasly, the Toro Rosso driver now. Albon in 11th, just ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. But just to confirm, Gasly hasn't pitted yet, neither has Perez, neither has Kvyat, Ricciardo or Hulkenberg.
What maturity from this 21-year-old in the lead. What pressure he's soaking up.
It's hard to keep up with him.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Valtteri Bottas is coming into the pits. I can see the Mercedes crew, there they are, waiting for him. Off go the soft tyres, on go the medium tyres. We're on lap 28 of 53. Valtteri Bottas will be fine with tyre wear now for the rest of this race. And he's 2.3 seconds stationary stop has gained him a bit of time as well. Comes out into the race, should be behind Ricciardo and ahead of Hulkenberg. It is.
Different tyres for Bottas, mediums to Leclerc, but they'll be 7 laps younger.
Yeah.
Now, we're not seeing, as we pointed out at the beginning of the race, such degradation, such fall away from these tyres, but nonetheless that could come in very handy for Valtteri Bottas later on.
In the short term, he's lost out. The 3.2 second gap between Leclerc and Bottas when the pit stop started has now extended, but you're saying by the end of the race he might be at a much faster pace than Charles Leclerc, and it could play into his hands. You don't know. Oh, Ted, Carlos Sainz has left the pit.
It's a loose wheel. They had a problem with it. They had a problem with it in the pit stop. They took it off, put it on, took it off again, and then put it on again. And that is such a shame. That's a race retirement. They have to stop, otherwise they would have been disqualified for Carlos Sainz. And he was in a fight. Let's see if there's a safety car. Everyone getting ready down here. He was in a fight with Nico Hulkenberg for P6, P5, P6. Let's let Hulkenberg off the hook on that one.
Yeah, the problem with the wheel gun there. He stopped, he started, and he went, and by the time he'd gone, the realisation was there that wheel was not on properly for the second weekend running. Carlos Sainz retires from a Grand Prix through no fault of his own, and now the car is parked. There is a virtual safety car being deployed. I was going to say, the car parks at the pit lane exit.
Yeah, and it's in a vulnerable position there. What's going on here?
Well, Lewis Hamilton, a little bit
to overtake,
late.
but it looks as if...
well, Leclerc had slowed right down, and Hamilton was a bit late to react.
Yeah, but they've got to keep to a minimum time of arrival at the next point, so it's quite complex on the screen. It looked like they were busy trying to work it out, the pair of them, weren't they? So it's a very vulnerable place there if cars were to make contact down the pit straight. So that's the only thing they can do. But they can't put marshals out there on a live track.
Danny Kvyat hadn't pitted, came into the pits during the virtual safety car, and I wonder how that might help his race. Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly doing the same thing.
Bottas had just pitted, so he's lost, and you know he'll be cursing that. So did Verstappen as well, because it's a cheap stop while the others are going around at limited speed. You're losing less time in the pit stop.
Right, virtual safety car gone. Carlos Sainz's McLaren, first car to retire from this race, gone from the side of the track, and Leclerc and Hamilton gone down that back straight. Look who's going into the parabolica, Sebastian Vettel. He's in 17th. His teammate Charles Leclerc has Hamilton now right on his tail, and the tyre warm-up issues are coming back again for Charles Leclerc here, because he's on the hard tyre. They will have been colder and take longer to warm up than Hamilton's mediums, and Hamilton getting a great exit out of the parabolica, and he is gaining definitely on the Ferrari in front. That long main straight sees Hamilton really going for it here. Can he brake late enough to get ahead? No, he can't.
So DRS was enabled immediately after the virtual safety car went in.
Valtteri Bottas has got past Daniel Ricciardo and up into third place. Danny Kvyat is in sixth at the moment as Nico Hülkenberg comes into the pits, and that pit stop behind the virtual safety car might really help Kvyat here. He was 11 seconds behind Hülkenberg when Carlos Sainz pulled to the side.
Can Seb Vettel hold Hamilton up for the second consecutive weekend and play into his team's hands? Well, they're catching him at the moment. Well, they're behind him, let's put it that way.
He hasn't got as much opportunity this week, because when Hamilton and Leclerc do get up to him, Martin, they'll be doing it to lap him.
Yes.
So they'll have the blue flags waved at him, but I'm sure if there's any way that he can play the team game and help Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel will do that. Valtteri Bottas is absolutely flying at the moment. Now he's got past Daniel Ricciardo, and he's 6.5 seconds off the race leader. Charles Leclerc, who's led another Grand Prix after doing so well at Spa, and that is Danny Kvyat, who just pitted a lap before, and he is out of the race. And I wonder if that's smoke from his Honda engine or because the brakes are overheating and things are getting a bit hot there. And just past the exit of the first chicane, the Toro Rosso is stranded, and we've got another virtual safety car.
That's the only thing they can do there. Again, if a car has a braking issue going into that first chicane, they'll arrive on the scene where that car is stranded.
And so they'll take the opportunity down at Renault to pit Danny Ricciardo. They'll take the opportunity at Haas to pit Romain Grosjean as well. That's wretched luck there for Danny Kvyat. So 21 seconds you'd normally lose for a pit stop, Martin. You can gain 6 seconds in the race by pitting under the VSC.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who's really working this nicely, because he just put in a stonking lap out of the pits. His first flying lap was Valtteri Bottas. Yeah. And he's brought himself, you know, quite nicely back into play again on those fresh medium tyres.
Engine problem it was for Danny Kvyat, so I'm told, and the smoking Toro Rosso is being pushed away, and joining Carlos Sainz as the two retirements in this race so far. It's about par for the course for reliability here at Monza. In 2012 to 2015 and 2017 we only had 2 retirements. This was his pit stop, the soft tyres going on. Pitting under the first virtual safety car. There was a bit of smoke there as he left the pit lane.
That was already unhappy, wasn't it? And often you get just a little bit extra heat as you're sitting there waiting for your service in the pit lane.
Oh, it doesn't sound good. Oh dear. And that's Danny Kvyat out of the race. And we're racing again. Pierre Gasly just ahead of Max Verstappen. It's the battle for 11th place. Lando Norris, the car just ahead of them. Charles Leclerc has got Lewis Hamilton right on his tail again as they head towards the first chicane. There goes Perez and Magnussen, and there is Lando Norris staying ahead of Pierre Gasly, but only just. Franz Tost is the team boss at Toro Rosso. He's with us this weekend. Franz, can you tell us anything about Danny Kvyat's retirement from the race?
As it looks like it's an oil leak, but we don't know more details.
Such a shame, because he was in a really handy position there to score some good points.
He was in the 6th position. We just changed the tires to the option. Everything would have worked well, but unfortunately any oil leak happened, and therefore we had to stop the car.
Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly having to defend against Max Verstappen. I get the feeling that this is personal, and he might want to make this last as long as he can.
Yeah, Max Verstappen is not a problem. He should overtake the cars in front of him.
I think he's going to do that. Thanks ever so much indeed, Franz. Might not be the Toro Rosso problem, but Pierre Gasly still going wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen here. Verstappen not streaking ahead, he's got the inside line, and Pierre left it there for him into the chicane. Verstappen up into 11th place.
You could see the drag kick in there, he just couldn't gather any further speed. Hamilton ever closer then with the DRS, and Leclerc desperately trying to break that toe. Now you can see him harvesting electrical energy into the battery when those rear lights flash. It's to give the driver behind a warning that the driver in front of you is still full throttle, but the car will slow as they're harvesting power.
It's not a barbecue in the background, that's still the smoke coming from the Toro Rosso as Leclerc heads on down to the De La Roggia chicane. Sebastian Vettel behind the Williams of George Russell.
Vettel will be getting blue flags shortly to let the leaders through. What kind of games is he going to play, prepared to play, able to play in this fight between Leclerc and Hamilton?
It's just going to compound what has been a really bad afternoon for Sebastian Vettel.
5. He's been already, look, there we go again. So that's the second one he's been through. He's got to get out of the way. Now he's got to...
He gets out of the way very well for both.
Yeah. No, he's not prepared to play.
No, gets out of the way very well indeed for both. Very quickly down to 10.
Been keeping my eyes on the lap times. You can't take your eyes off them. Oh, down to 0.4 of a second. Hamilton's just gaining. He's still got life in these medium tyres, hasn't he? Still got life with them. Won't last forever though. Has to get the job. If it is going to get done, has to get the job done soon.
It's half a second. It is half a second between Leclerc and Hamilton, and this is the closest Hamilton's been to Charles Leclerc to have a go into the first chicane. He's already tried once to get past the Ferrari. It didn't end well for the Mercedes. Is he going to have a go down into the first chicane? No, he's not. Arriving very late on the scene, Sebastian Vettel outbrakes himself, and the Williams of George Russell might just get past the Ferrari on the exit of that chicane as we go through the Curva Grande once again. Leclerc ahead of Hamilton, Russell tucked in behind Sebastian Vettel. That's a scrap for 14th. This is the scrap for the leader. Leclerc is holding on to it.
What a nightmare race Sebastian Vettel's having. What struck me there was how well the Ferrari released, how well it took off on the exit of Parabolica and his straight line speed. That looked pretty handy to me. He got such good traction.
I need more power, man.
And I think that backs up what you just said there. Throughout this entire race, through the first sector, the Ferrari has been quick, and Hamilton just hasn't quite got the power to basically close up and try and mount an attack. Apex speeds through turn 10, and Hamilton just 1.5 kilometres faster, but it's down the straights where he's losing out.
Well, give it to him.
So Leclerc then can just take a nice entry into the Parabolic and know that it's hurting the Mercedes a little bit behind him and get a good exit, and it's giving him enough breathing space for now anyway.
Right, Kevin Magnussen has been passed by Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, but not Pierre Gasly. That's going on behind the rear wing of Max Verstappen. Is Verstappen close enough to Norris? No, he's not. What happened down into the first chicane? Massive lock-up from Kevin Magnussen is what happened there.
That'll need a pit stop for a fresh set of tyres. Alex Albon's doing like he did in Spa last weekend, starting to have a very good second half of the Grand Prix. He's been across the gravel. He's had a penalty, but suddenly now he's right up there in 6th place, having made his pit stop.
And he's lapping about a second a lap faster than Nico Hülkenberg at the moment. He's got 10.5 seconds to try and make up on the Renault. We're on lap 35 of 53 here. It's the Italian Grand Prix, and that car out in front is the Italian Scuderia Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, who became the 108th different winner of a Formula One Grand Prix last weekend in Spa. Put Monaco on the list of nations to have won the World Championship Grand Prix, and he's trying to do something of a London bus here. You wait a while for a win, and then two come all at once.
He's actually trying to break the slipstream as well, but this is where I believe the Ferrari is particularly strong, and the Mercedes challenge in the slipstream of the Ferrari, but Hamilton ever closer this time.
Without DRS, Hamilton would not be in a position to keep this challenge going. DRS very much coming to Mercedes' assistance so far, but he is just 20 metres, 15 metres. Oh, Leclerc locks up, too far behind. Leclerc locks up, goes through the chicane. Hamilton now is right on the rear wing of that Ferrari, and once again to the Curva Grande we go, and Hamilton is going to have a go. Which way this time? Wanted to go round the outside, had to switch to the inside. Leclerc is making it very difficult indeed by zigzagging over from one side to the other of the track, and Hamilton can't force his way past.
And that's some vibrations as well, Leclerc. Now that was a fairly big lock-up. I don't think it's a pit-stopping kind of lock-up, but a little bit naughty there. Leclerc has maintained the lead by scampering across there, leaving bits of curb in his wake. I think he'll just about get away with that. He's already had one warning for his driving, but he's driving for his life out there, isn't he, trying to keep that Mercedes behind him? The Lone Ranger for Ferrari.
Absolutely, but will the Lone Ranger be outdone by the silver of the Mercedes here this afternoon? And that's Lewis Hamilton's view, with the Ferrari ahead of him and alongside. He wanted to go around the outside. Leclerc switched, forced him to go the long way round in the next chicane. Then Leclerc cuts back over to that.
In the early phases of that, here we go again, in the early phases of that, Lewis was making an adjustment on his steering wheel.
Yeah, retuning into some new radio station. I don't know, but here goes Hamilton.
Some damage driving going on.
Copy, Lewis, we're seeing it.
He doesn't like the way that Charles Leclerc is defending. While all this is happening, Valtteri Bottas, setting fastest laps here, is 3.5 seconds behind the race leader. Bottas is gaining on these two, and while they squabble, Bottas is coming back into play. Now, the stewards have noted that Charles Leclerc missed the apex, so they think he gained a lasting advantage. He was already out in front, of course, when he locked up. He came back out onto the track, still in front, so you can argue it either way you want. Hashtag Ask Crofty after the race. We'll enjoy the action as it happens at the moment.
He'll get away with that one, I think, but this is going to be interesting. So Bottas starts cruising in on his 7-lap younger tyres. What are Mercedes going to do? Are they going to, if Lewis can't get the job done on Leclerc, are they going to let Valtteri have a go at him?
Well,
let's see how that unfolds. You've got to get there first.
The request will come in, surely. No investigation necessary. Say the stewards in that incident between Leclerc and Hamilton when Leclerc missed the apex. As round the parabolica they go. Is Hamilton going to get a good exit? Is Hamilton using DRS? Yes and yes. Can he gain on Charles Leclerc? Probably. Can he get past Charles Leclerc? We'll find out in a moment. As you can see the Ferrari up ahead, and for Lewis Hamilton's sake, sadly for him, he can still see the Ferrari ahead.
No investigation necessary, as we said. So, as long as Leclerc gets off the exit of parabolic and uses his straight line speed advantage, he's got Hamilton covered. What he mustn't do is make mistakes.
Hamilton just needs to keep putting the pressure on, and I hope that he can force Leclerc into another mistake. Striking distance, Valtteri Bottas to Lewis Hamilton in 4 laps. Will Bottas be asking to come past? Surely he will. And to race control.
Yeah, so I've been looking back at that moment in Curva Grande and riding on board Lewis, and
I'm going to have my tyres left.
Just keep that pressure on Lewis. You're forcing him into errors.
yeah, so I was going to report that as well, that he's just starting to run out of tyres. He has to make it work soon, and Leclerc just there runs a little bit wide in the Ascari chicane. This might give Lewis a bit more of a chance down into parabolic of that Ferrari being so quick in the straight line and staying behind it, so this could be a chance now.
Yeah, he is gaining once again. Mercedes won't care too much if Hamilton's losing tyre life, because if Bottas can then pick up the baton, they can still put Leclerc under pressure. They want to win as a team, of course. Either driver, I'm sure, will do for them.
But once again, Leclerc's got the better car off parabolic, and Lewis in the turbulent air is struggling. He then can't make enough up with DRS,
but he's
and
closer.
Slipstream.
He's closer this time around, Hamilton. It's how they now exit from this chicane.
It is indeed, but Leclerc's error at Ascari put them in touch. But as soon as Lewis gets right on the gearbox of that Ferrari, he's hurting in the critical parabolica corner.
And once again, Valtteri Bottas with a much faster lap than the first and second car here, and he's now 2.7 seconds behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton. As through and out of the De La Roggia chicane comes Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis has got to get that done, otherwise Mercedes will have to think about letting Bottas have a run at the Ferrari.
Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg run 4th and 5th. We haven't mentioned them for a while, and Alex Albon too, running in 6th and about 7 and a bit seconds behind Nico Hülkenberg. Giovinazzi's under pressure from Sergio Perez, who's actually just passed him. 7th now for Perez, 8th for Giovinazzi. Max Verstappen in 9th. Don't forget, Verstappen came into the pits after damage to his front wing on the opening lap of the race, and then he pitted again under a virtual safety car on lap 27. There's Valtteri Bottas. He's been running in nice clean air, setting fast lap times, and he's 2.1 seconds behind his teammate now, who's a little bit further back from Charles Leclerc than he was on the last lap. Last points at the moment go to Lando Norris, who's just a little bit clear of Pierre Gasly, with Lance Stroll trying to get back at those two as well. 3 laps now, the striking distance for Bottas on Hamilton.
Now, once again, then, Leclerc's got to be fault-free, and he's got it covered against Hamilton at the moment. Any mistake and Lewis is ready to pounce. Valtteri Bottas then ever closer.
And to race control.
Yeah, so Leclerc's just had a word from his engineer saying no moving under braking.
Hamilton behind with DRS. No moving under braking, turn 4. No moving under braking for turn 4.
I don't move.
Well, you did. You did. You moved a bit too much, maybe, in the opinion of the stewards, who just want to send the warning through.
It might be the same colour as a London bus, but it's not as wide, Charles. But in his hands, he's making it wide. But that's the only response he can give. And turn 4, it's fair enough. You know, he's been right on the edge with his driving, right on the edge, Leclerc. But he's trying to win the Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari. 10
seconds was the gap, by the way, between Valtteri Bottas and Charles Leclerc when the virtual safety car was out on lap 30. And the gap between Leclerc and Bottas at the moment is under 3 seconds. Bottas is gaining on his teammate. We'll soon have DRS on his teammate as well, and won't have the power deficiency going down the main straight that Lewis Hamilton's had to the Ferrari.
So Bottas tyres 8 laps younger than his teammate Hamilton's and 7 laps younger than Leclerc, and this is going to be very interesting indeed. Very, very interesting indeed as to what Mercedes are going to do now if Lewis is running out of tyres, having worked so hard in the slipstream of that Ferrari.
Surely, Ted Kravitz, Mercedes' best chance of winning this race is to let Valtteri Bottas past his teammate.
Yeah, try telling that to Lewis Hamilton. Good luck with that.
I thought you might like to. You're nearer. No,
just a quick one. Yeah, so Lewis either cooling down his tyres or taking a breather. Maybe. Oh, is that a
nope.
Race control?
Well, it's Carlos Sainz. His unsafe release will be investigated after the race.
Okay.
No surprise.
So the info I have from Mercedes is that Lewis has not been given the turn it up to 11 engine settings that he asked for. So they're keeping it on plan as at the moment. Just a quick one on the midfield. Hulkenberg now put in the shade by Ricciardo, really. Hulkenberg was unlucky with the virtual safety car, pitted after it. So didn't get the advantage of pitting under the virtual safety car, namely Sergio Perez, 7th. You mentioned it, Crofty.
Yeah.
Can I just remind you, from the back of the grid, he did pit under the virtual safety car. Worked out brilliantly.
Started 18th, now 7th. Max Verstappen's ahead of Giovinazzi as well. Oh, lock-up from Lewis Hamilton goes on into the runoff area at that first chicane.
Second.
Well, they're already cheering in the grandstands for that one, and it has cost him second. Lewis Hamilton, after putting the pressure on Charles Leclerc to make mistakes, has now made one himself, and he goes on at the first chicane, and Valtteri Bottas takes second place.
And that gives Bottas a great chance of having a crack at winning this Grand Prix. So Lewis then beginning to run out of tyres a little bit. Obviously, it's not just about going around the corners. You lean heavily on your front tyres under braking.
And this was Hamilton.
Just a little snatch of the left front. So it's not... I don't think he'll have too many bad vibrations from that. But a bit of cadence braking. He got off it, realised he wasn't going to make the chicane, bailed out of it. I wouldn't be cheering. I don't think that's a cheering moment for Ferrari. I really don't. I think that releases Valtteri Bottas into a very handy position there on his fresher tyres.
Well, it means Mercedes don't need to make the decision now. Do we let Bottas past or not? And the one with the better tyres, the fresher tyres, is now the one taking up the challenge again.
So hunt him down. There's 12 laps to go.
And he has nothing to lose in the championship, really, here, Valtteri Bottas. to make a bid for glory and maybe win the Italian Grand Prix. That's Lance Stroll being passed by the two Mercedes. Stroll down in 12th place at the moment after he was hit by Sebastian Vettel in the opening stages. Vettel had a spin at the Ascari chicane, rejoined the track and made contact with Stroll, sent him into a spin. Stroll came on the track, put Pierre Gasly onto the gravel, and both Stroll and Vettel picked up penalties as a result. And as that Sebastian Vettel coming into the pits for another set of tyres, that they're making a bid for the fastest lap of the race for that man. He's going to have to try and get into the top 10, and at the moment he's down in 15th place.
Gone on to the medium, so have we not just seen Vettel? Something was going on with Vettel, wasn't it? It's all too exciting up front to pay too much attention to that. 4th and 5th still for Renault. Albon nicely up there in 6th now, and Verstappen into the points, of course, but what can Leclerc do to fend off yet another Mercedes-Benz?
Just a word here for George Russell in the Williams, running in 13th place at a track that he thought would be one of his worst of the season. I mean, he's managing to stay in touch with those around him, and yes, Sainz has retired, Fiat retired as well, Vettel and Raikkonen having problems, but 13th is fairly handy for George Russell, and ahead of the hats of Kevin Magnussen by about 5 seconds at the moment.
And now Leclerc's not having to think about defending, he's just done a personal best, still 2/10 shy of Bottas. Bottas should catch him, but will he have the same problem in the turbulent air into Parabolica? If Leclerc can, and in those hard compound tyres, should last until Singapore in the next race.
But if Valtteri Bottas wants to make that claim for Valtteri version 2.0, the new Valtteri, the attacking hard Valtteri Bottas that's not going to take anything lying down, now's his moment.
Yeah, I've got nothing left in his eyes.
Might see Hamilton, if he's accepting 3rd place there, pitting to try and set the fastest lap of this race, because he's got enough in hand.
He's leading the World Championship after all by 65 points going into this race, was Lewis Hamilton. So it's really now about how Bottas can use the extra grip. Has he got the speed? Has he got the confidence? Can he do anything down the pit straight with a better exit? Can he put Leclerc under ever more pressure? I mean, I don't know if Charles Leclerc knows what the word pressure means, frankly.
He's coped with it very, very well indeed this afternoon. We are on lap 44 of 53. Make that lap 45 of 53. Valtteri Bottas is gaining, Martin, but he's running out of laps here, and he might need to find half a second in the next 3 laps to get the DRS assistance and then to really start to make a challenge. You're on the podium asking interviews, or down in Parc Ferme asking interviews today, aren't you?
I'm terrified. I've got to walk through a tunnel to get there, and I'm going to miss the moment, aren't I? If there is one.
Well, I'll keep the noise level up, and hopefully you can hear me over the Tifosi, who are ready to celebrate here. Charles Leclerc on the verge of a 2nd win, and what a win that would be for Ferrari at their home track.
Valtteri leaving plenty of space to the outside of the track there on turn into the 2nd chicane. Like he's got lots of grip. Whether he's wringing its neck quite hard enough at the moment is another matter.
Sergio Perez.
We are looking at options. Your pit window behind is clear.
For a World Championship point for fastest lap.
You could be right on that one. Max Verstappen has gained on Sergio Perez. He is right on Sergio Perez's tail now in the battle for 7th place.
Blisters on the right front there. On the inside, the tyres lean in at 3.5 degrees. So that's why the inside of the tyre takes the most punishment. And Lewis's front tyres looking particularly nasty there. And Bottas is now within DRS range. Joe, getting very, very close to it.
As Kevin Magnussen retires from the race, joins Danny Kvyat and Carlos Sainz in retiring early. Down to you, Ted.
It is an option for Mercedes pit Hamilton. Put a used set of soft tyres on. It's more or less the only set he's got left, unless he wants to put a new set of hard tyres on. But just bear in mind, Leclerc's shown that, you know, he's no angel today. He's prepared to do anything to keep the lead. If Lewis did pit, and then him and Leclerc and Bottas did have a little ding-dong, Lewis would want to be in the precinct to take advantage, wouldn't he?
Coming out of the first chicane there.
Come on, Valtteri, this is your win.
Coming out of the first chicane, as Ted was updating us, the back end of the Ferrari was moving and complaining a bit under traction.
Yeah.
I think Bottas got a great chance of winning this race.
Riccardo Mosconi, his race engineer, says, come on Valtteri, this is your win. Well, see what Valtteri Bottas has got now. What's the crowd worth in terms of pace here for Charles Leclerc? They have been roaring him on to victory from the opening lap here. He's surviving so much pressure from Lewis Hamilton and now the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. And on this lap, he's about 1.7 seconds clear of Bottas. He's actually pulled out a little bit. And the laps keep ticking over and the clock is running down and Bottas is not in a position to challenge at the moment. He's 1.5 seconds back. He was in DRS range, but he lost, Martin, half a second in that final sector.
He's starting to get into the turbulent air of the Ferrari as well now, though, isn't he?
Absolutely. Nico Rosberg is a man that knows what it's like to chase a Ferrari and a Mercedes or even stay ahead of them. World champion, of course, in 2016. Nico, can Valtteri Bottas do this, or is your money on Charles Leclerc?
Well, Valtteri just did a mistake in the Ascari corner, so he lost half a second there in the worst possible moment. Somehow I have the feeling that he's just not quite quick enough today to really put the same kind of pressure on Leclerc as Hamilton was managing to do.
And what have you made of Charles Leclerc in this race? Such an experienced head, it seems, on such young shoulders.
To have the pressure of Lewis Hamilton behind you for the whole race, so close, is probably the ultimate test. And especially here at the home race in a Ferrari. So really huge respect for now for what Leclerc is doing out there. And of course, he would deserve the win today as well.
Absolutely. Thanks ever so much, Nico. We'll hear more from you after this race. Martin Brundle's raced down to interview the top three. Anthony Davidson's raced up from Sky Race Control to join me in the commentary box here. Has Bottas's moment gone?
I fear it might have done, Crofty. Yeah. He had the pace. He was catching 3/10 a lap every lap. He's taken a cool-down lap, but now gone for the fastest lap of the race. That last lap from Leclerc, well, the lap before, he had the pace still in that Ferrari. But I think what we're seeing here is the ebb and flow of how they're harvesting the energy.
Right. But also at Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton, as Ted was saying, hasn't been able to turn the engine up to 11 to go for that ultimate mode. How worried are they going to be about the vulnerability of these engines, given what we saw in Spa with a new spec blowing up?
I don't know, that's for them to answer, but it's, you know, obviously it's you want to give it everything. When you can have a sniff of a chance of victory, you've always got to give it everything. I think what Lewis was saying was, I need a bit more power in terms of that electrical boost, you know, that electric power that they can harvest through the lap and stop the turbo from giving energy to the battery and propel you down the straight instead. So they're managing their energy systems. I was listening on race control all the time to their radios, and that's been going on an awful lot. Change this mode, change that mode, recovery here, recovery there, you know, give me more deployment on X part of the circuit. That's it's a huge game that they're playing behind the cockpit whilst travelling at almost 300 miles an hour at points.
And as we watch the leading two, the games still continue for 7th at the moment. Verstappen right on Perez's tail, only half a second between those two. And Alex Albon is now under 2 seconds behind Nico Hülkenberg as he chases down the Renault, and Valtteri Bottas sets another new fastest lap of the race. 1:23.1 on that last lap. Bottas, though, has gained a couple of tenths on Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc now starts down that main straight to extend his advantage again. It's like one big giant high-speed accordion, pulling out and then concertinaing back in.
I think for a while, because Valtteri's on that medium tyre, for a while they were fresher, so he had the speed, but now what you're seeing is the longevity of the harder tyres start to kick in favour of Charles Leclerc.
And he's had to survive a couple of virtual safety cars where the tyres cool down as well. He's done it superb. Your driver of the day, at the moment, nearly a third of you thinking it's Charles Leclerc. And to be honest, that doesn't surprise me at all. Verstappen, don't discount what Verstappen's done today, moving from the 19th on the grid all the way up to 8th. And he's still giving Sergio Perez a bit of a headache between now and the checkered flag as he tries for 7th. Daniel Ricciardo currently running in 4th, which will be his first top 5 finish since he went to the Renault team. And Renault, with Nico Hülkenberg finishing 5th as it stands at the moment, will definitely celebrate a very good afternoon here at Monza.
Yeah, you know, lots of drivers driven a good race today. I do feel like Charles Leclerc has stood his ground against one of the best in the business, and that's impressive.
It is. Ted, down to you.
I can see Mercedes mechanics coming out in the pit lane, so I think Hamilton has been given the option. He can see that maybe he doesn't need to take advantage, that maybe Bottas won't be able to get Leclerc just yet, and he's coming in. He's going to put on some soft tyres and go for the fastest.
Well, at the moment, by finishing behind his teammate in third, Lewis Hamilton would lose 3 points in his 65-point championship lead, and he might get one of them back again, so it would just be a 2-point swing. All in all, as we're going into the final third of the season after this, that's not a bad result for the championship leader.
Oh, that was a bit of a mistake there from
Slide, wasn't it?
Yeah, sliding the rear of the car into turn 5 there. And it's little moments like that, Crofty, when you're behind the wheel, say that hard charging Valtteri Bottas at this stage, you see moments like that and you think, a chink in the armour, and you put your foot down and try a bit harder. You think, if he's pressured there, maybe I can pressure him again. He's got the DRS this time on the run up the hill. On the team radio, every single lap into here, they're reminding Charles the distance behind the car, the car behind.
This has been one of those races where the lead has been tantalisingly close to changing, and you don't want to call anything before you see the checkered flag. That is the Drivers' Championship as it stands at the moment. Bottas has got the fastest lap, but his teammate's going for it, and I tell you what, Bottas is now in a position to really go for it down the main straight, because he is that much closer to Charles Leclerc. The gap was 1.6 seconds, it's now half a second, and he's got DRS as well. Will Valtteri Bottas be able to go for it into this chicane? No, but what he needs now is to avoid blocking up in the way that he did. He just needed a good exit out of that chicane, and then the chance was there into the next braking zone, and it has disappeared from him.
I was just about to say, come on Valtteri, show us some fire, and brakes a little bit too late. He's clearly struggling with those medium tyres just fading away from him at this stage in the race, and I think Charles has got it covered.
That was Valtteri Bottas's potential opportunity. It's not easy to stop a car from 215 miles an hour to about 80 miles an hour in the space of 100 metres, and there you can see.
And this would have been, don't forget, his first time really braking in the tricky zone where you're in the turbulent air of the car in front, and I think that's how a lot of people were feeling at that stage as you see that chance slip away. But look, you have to give it to Charles, really. He's driven a phenomenal race, and he's got the crowd behind him.
I mean,
you can see them
them
cheering already. Don't wish it on too soon.
Well, I'm not, but just look at the crowd lining at Monza here. When we turned up for work this morning, we could barely get into the track. The queues were absolutely massive, because Ferrari, through this man, won at Spa last week. Ferrari, through this man, won pole position yesterday in qualifying. There was an expectation from those wearing red, those that have come here, that they would see something special today, and he has not let them down in any way, shape or form.
It's what Ferrari needed, Crofty. He's young, he's feisty, as we're watching riding on board Lewis Hamilton on that fastest lap coming up, fastest middle sector at least.
Well, and he does take the fastest lap with a 1:21.7, so that's a point. So it's a 2-point swing, isn't it?
Exactly. So you need someone like Charles. That's what they've been missing. There's someone young and he doesn't care about the rules. He's just going to go for it and just forget about all that pressure. He's not overthinking it, and I think that's what Ferrari have been missing for a little while.
And on a day where Sebastian Vettel spun through no contact around him, Charles Leclerc...
Just feel like it's changing of the guard, don't you?
I was going to say, at the moment, looks to be going on to take the race, and what does that do then to Sebastian Vettel as well, and his mindset? He knows he's in a battle at Ferrari with this man, and he knows that Charles Leclerc is not one to be pushed aside easily. Rounds the parabolica then to start his final lap in this race, and you can bet your bottom dollar that no one is going to be sat down at all as they make their way around 3.6 more miles. Let's look at the list. Ascari, Phil Hill, Surtees, Scarfiotti, Regazzoni, Scheckter, Berger, Schumacher, Barrichello, Alonso. Ferrari drivers that have won here at Monza. And this man, Charles Leclerc, is about to add his name to that list, and that means something.
He's got one more tricky braking zone coming up. That's it on this lap. Into the second chicane. He navigates that Ferrari through well.
Overtake is available.
Bottas has been given the power, he's been given the tools to chase after Charles Leclerc, but he is a bit too far back. Leclerc, who won in Spa, of course, last week, and might join this list. Bruce McLaren, Nigel Mansell, Damon Hill, Mika Häkkinen and Lewis Hamilton, drivers in the World Championship who won their first 2 Grand Prix back-to-back. Have a listen to that. They rise through the Ascari chicane. Ascari, the legend that of course won here for Ferrari, and they rise to Charles Leclerc. He can see the celebration starting. He's got one more corner, the famous Parabolica to go. Mercedes threw everything at him today. Charles Leclerc has coped brilliantly. He won in Spa. He wins in Monza. Charles Leclerc is the winner of the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. How about that? Valtteri Bottas comes home to finish second as the cheers and the celebrations begin in the Ferrari garage. Lewis Hamilton picks up the fastest lap, but it is only third for him. But the championship lead, he loses 2 points, and he won't mind a dot about that. Well done to Renault, Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg with their best performance in many a long year, finishing 4th and 5th.
You've done it.
Yes! 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 Yes!
And understandably,
he only
last
shouts
week,
a little bit more than you, Crocky.
only just a little bit. I'm just really happy for him. He is such a lovely young man, and he coped brilliantly today. That was a sensational race. And this time last week, and understandably, his emotions and his celebrations were tempered because of the tragic loss of Antoine Hubert. And there he is with a tribute to his teammate on his steering wheel. Today, he can really enjoy what it feels to win and to be a Grand Prix winner and a Ferrari Grand Prix winner.
I think last weekend he went down in history, winning a race, his first race in Formula One. I think today, at least for Ferrari fans, he's just become one of the legends, and that means so much.
Absolutely. Last time Ferrari won at Monza, this man was winning the Junior Monaco Kart Cup, and he was 12 years old. Not since Fernando Alonso in 2010 have they won here.
Charles, sono Mattia, oggi sei perdonato, sei tutti noi, bravo. Oh, grazie mille, grazie a tutti, siete dei grandi. Mamma mia, oh, non ci sono parole. Grazie per tutto, siete i migliori, per sempre.
Grazie a te.
Never knew he was such a fan of ABBA. Charles Leclerc celebrating as a Ferrari winner. We mentioned that Lewis Hamilton had got the fastest lap of the race. Lewis Hamilton on the podium for the 6th consecutive year here at Monza, the 8th time in his career as well. Never been third here before, but he has today. We mentioned too that Renault take a big haul of points in the Constructors' Championship. They're on 65 points now.
Good job all the weekend, guys. Thank you so much for the hard work. Sorry I wasn't able to put it off.
But boy, did he try. It was great fun watching. I mean, look, you always want to see any overtake for the lead in Formula One. Today, I didn't care whether it was a Mercedes overtaking, getting to the lead, or Ferrari doing the overtaking. You just want to see a good race. And I think even without that overtake, it was a good race. Charles took it, like Martin said, right to the limit. I didn't like everything that I saw. He will have some explaining to do to Lewis Hamilton. But look, if you can do this, if you can create this emotion but to the fans like he's done today, I think today the best man really did win.
He might be reigniting the passion for Formula One here in Italy and for Ferrari as well. It doesn't hide the fact that these celebrations should have come earlier in the season through no fault of his own. He was denied victory, of course, in Bahrain, but better late than never, eh? And it really bodes well for the future.
And I think, look, this was a circuit, as of Spa last weekend. Mercedes are on damage limitation, and Ferrari needed to do what they did there and here. And if you're Sebastian Vettel watching on, I mean, you'd be happy for your team, but it must hurt.
He's not watching. He is not watching. He's actually bent over putting his steering wheel back in, and that's probably quite good for him as Charles Leclerc comes in. As I say, Renault 65 points in the Constructors' Championship. McLaren in fourth now, 83 points. They scored with Lando Norris today. He finished 10th in the end. Antonio Giovinazzi, 9th. Italian point scorer there. His best finish in Formula One. Verstappen came home to finish 8th behind Sergio Perez. Alex Albon couldn't quite get past Hülkenberg. He had to take 6th. George Russell in the Williams finished 14th in the end. We lost Sainz, Kvyat and Magnussen as retirements in this race. A handshake and a well done by the two Mercedes drivers. Charles Leclerc behind them puts his steering wheel back in because protocol and procedure must always be followed in Formula One, and now slaps the cockpit of his scarlet red Ferrari and punches the air in delight before jumping into the arms of his jubilant crew. That is brilliant. Pure sporting joy and emotion. It's a team sport, it's Formula One, and that team on a high in that half of the garage.
No, you are not dreaming, Charles Leclerc. You've just won the Italian Grand Prix wearing that infamous red suit. You are a hero. Enjoy it.
Oh, he certainly will. Ran that hard compound tyre during FP2, of course, and he was quicker than Sebastian Vettel on the medium when they were making the comparisons. So they worked out the strategy. Maybe that was the plan B, to go onto that hard tyre.
It was a brave move, wasn't it, going on the hard tyre? He made it work.
And the banners that they bring year after year, waiting to celebrate under the podium, the greatest podium of them all. Well, they can now celebrate a Ferrari win, and Martin Brundle is there to talk to Charles Leclerc.
Oh my goodness, Charles, what a brilliant drive. That will go down in Ferrari legend. Fantastic, well done.
Oh, thank you so much. What a race. I've never been so tired. Obviously, can I speak in Italian? Because
of course.
Sì, è stata una gara difficilissima, perché ovviamente mi teneva tanto per me di far bene qua, per il team, per tutti I tifosi, e vincere qua è solamente un sogno. Lo era già settimana scorsa per la prima vittoria, ma penso che in termini di emozioni vincere qua è 10 volte di più, dunque grazie a tutti e non c'ho parole.
Mercedes-Benz, the great Mercedes-Benz team, threw everything at you, 2 against 1, and you didn't succumb to the pressure.
Yeah, I did 2 mistakes, but at the end I finished first, so yeah, very happy with this, but I need to be careful with the mistakes, but obviously none of them were made me lost position today.
Well done, brilliant race. Valtteri, the fresh tyres at the end look quite good, but not quite enough to pass young Charles.
Yeah, I think we had a good strategy with me, and yeah, I could go pretty long in the first stint, and that opened up some opportunities at the end, but I'm gutted, you know. I was trying everything I could to get him, and there was no way past. So always when I was getting close enough, I started to have front locking because of the lack of downforce, and they're so quick in the straights as well. But I tried. I think it's the best we could do today.
He was very strong off Parabolica the last corner, wasn't he? And then down the straight, so difficult to overtake.
Yeah, it was really difficult for sure. Trying everything we could with the engine modes and everything, but not quite enough. But yeah, we move on.
3rd consecutive podium here. Maybe not the place you wanted to be. Thank you very much, Valtteri. Lewis, wow, what a dice, what a battle that was. Got a bit fruity in places.
Fruity?
Well, a little bit close. His elbows are coming out here and there. What would be your word?
Yeah, it was great. You know, he did a great job. Congratulations to Ferrari and to Charles. He did a great job. A lot of pressure from both Valtteri and I. I did the best I could. I think, obviously, following so closely for such a long time, tyres eventually just went off the cliff. But nonetheless, they were just quicker today, much quicker in the straight line. So even if we did get close, we couldn't pass. So not our day, but still strong points for the team. We pull away from Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, and ultimately that's what really matters.
And you must be homing in now on your 6th title. It must be starting to come into range in your mind.
Honestly, just trying to do better each race. I'm not really focused on that at the moment, but of course, healthier lead than I've been in the past, so obviously I'm grateful for that. But Today wasn't a perfect race. I think this weekend some improvements that can be made to my setup and obviously within myself. So we'll focus on that for the next race.
Okay, thank you. They're waiting for you on the amazing podium here at Monza.
Well, Mercedes knew that Ferrari would be strong in Spa and strong in Monza. The net result is Mercedes have a 154-point lead in the Constructors' Championship, and Lewis Hamilton goes off to Singapore, 63 points in the lead in the Drivers' Championship. So, to be honest, damage not really done.
I think what we saw here today, Crofty, was a classic case of a car running too much wing, too much downforce and drag, therefore, on this particular track.
Yeah.
I think it was the best that they could do on the package that they have. But they could produce the lap time, but you can't race with it. You're just a sitting duck on those straights. If you're the one in front, they would have been overtaken. And when you're behind, you can't overtake. So that's what we were watching today.
Every single person wants to be underneath that podium. When I say underneath that podium, but underneath so you can see. There's plenty of space to stand directly underneath, but you don't want to be there when Charles Leclerc comes on to stand at the top step in a moment.
It's going to be epic scenes, isn't it, when he's up on that step. What was it? The last driver to win for Ferrari here was Fernando Alonso.
Exactly. Where is Fernando Alonso at the moment? Actually, he should be presenting the trophy to Charles Leclerc, but as a McLaren ambassador, that probably isn't too much of a good thing. And when the DJ starts to play his music, well, they might want to put their fingers in their ears because it could be very, very noisy here. Let's have a listen in the driver's cool-down room to the top three.
You were way down Well done. Thank you. Oui, det smakte godt nok. Hvad? Det er rigtigt. Ja, det må man lade.
I did suggest that Fernando Alonso might like to present the trophy. I've just been sent a message. Thank you very much, Charlotte at McLaren. It says Fernando has left the track.
I was going to say he's probably on a plane home already as a joke, but seems it's true.
It's like Elvis has left the building. Fernando has left the track. Shame, really. He'd have enjoyed all this, I'm sure. The one man who might not be enjoying all this, of course, is Sebastian Vettel, who's now been overtaken in the Drivers' Championship by his teammate. And whilst everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Seb, it went right in the end for Charles.
Exactly. I mean, I was watching that on board. We'll look at it later, surely, on the SkyPad. And he clipped that curb on the inside of the Ascari chicane and it sent the car spinning. Yeah, a day to forget for Sebastian Vettel, and it's so painful having to stand in this team photo, and it's such a great emotional day, and it wasn't you that it was all about, it was your teammate.
I'm not sure it's a day he will be able to forget for quite a while, to be honest. Out onto the podium then comes Lewis Hamilton, and knows what it's like to stand on the podium at Monza, but not on third spot, because he's never finished third here before. Valtteri Bottas, for the third year in a row, and still without winning, takes his place in the runners-up spot. And have a listen to this. Here comes Charles Leclerc. The race winner, and for the second time in 7 days, possibly the happiest national anthem combination we've ever heard in Formula One, the Monegasque and the Italian national anthem. Never is an anthem sung with such gusto and passion as the Italian national anthem when Ferrari win at Monza. And still the crowd pour onto the track to be part of these celebrations that they've waited so long for. Charles Leclerc lifts the trophy high above his head. The crowd continue to swarm in. The head of track engineering, Matteo Toninelli, collects the Constructors' Trophy. Did you see Mattia Bonotto, the Ferrari team principal, videoing the crowd celebrations? There he is. He had his phone camera out and he was videoing it from his position on the pit wall. This means so much. Mercedes know how it feels. They've pushed Ferrari into second place here before, and Ferrari pushed them into second place here today. The runners-up and the third place trophy for Lewis Hamilton, who gets the customary boos from the Italian fans, and that love-hate relationship will carry on until the day he ever wants to become a Ferrari driver, which he says he doesn't at the moment. But it is time for the celebrations. Charles Leclerc, Prince of Ferrari, King of Monza, on this Sunday afternoon. The Tifosi celebrate. What an epic race, and what a star of the future, celebrating wildly in the present. Brilliant scenes, Anne, and I get the feeling that with Charles Leclerc and Ferrari's resurgence, we might see them again one day as well.
I'm sure we will, Crofty. I'm sure we will. But this was the race they had to make it happen, and he did. He didn't let the fans down. He stood his ground in a car that maybe wasn't the fastest in lap time, but certainly the fastest down the straights, and he used his defense tactics well, took it right to the limits. I'm really happy for the kid. He deserves it.
Kid, maybe this is the day that he became a man. I don't know. But Charles Leclerc, well done. What a brilliant Italian Grand Prix.